right, so you have to read this thing.
Oh, I've got a legal note. The conservative group...
Sonny normally does this, but...
I know.
Yes.
This is our knockoff lawyer.
Okay.
The conservative group, Turning Point USA, has condemned the group of neo-Nazis and said they have nothing to do with the organization.
Yeah, but where was Desantis is what I want to know.
But you let them in. You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit. We'll be right back. About the neo-Nazis at the Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical. That you embraced them at your thing, I felt. So they were not in the building.
They felt
but you know what?
Okay.
You know what? If the so-called Antifa, who are anti-fascist, that's what Antifa stands for, would go there and protest, then Antifa would get a bad reputation. That's why when I hear that Antifa is...
right, but that's not... But let me just make sure that everybody... Because, misunderstanding what people say is very big.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure I know they were not in the building, but they were in the mix of people at the thing.
Is condemning the Nazi symbols displayed outside the Tampa Convention Center earlier today. The museum shared these photos of flags being waved outside the building. The Florida Holocaust Museum released a statement saying this isn't about politics or religion, it's about humanity. The Florida Holocaust Museum calls upon everyone to condemn this blatant anti-Semitism in the strongest possible terms. This should matter to everyone.
About the fact that there were openly neo-Nazi demonstrators outside the Florida Student Action Summit of the Turning Point USA group. We want to make clear that these demonstrators were gathered outside the event and that they were not invited or endorsed by Turning Point USA. A Turning Point USA spokesman said the group, quote, 100% condemns those ideologies, and said Turning Point USA security tried to remove the neo-Nazis from the area but could not because they were on public property. Also, Turning Point USA wanted us to clarify that this was a Turning Point USA summit and not a Republican Party event. So we apologize for anything we said that may have been unclear on these points.
They still invited Matt Gaetz, though. I would just like...
Florida Holocaust Museum is condemning the Nazi symbols displayed outside the Tampa Convention Center earlier today. The museum shared these photos of flags being waved outside the building. The Florida Holocaust Museum released a statement saying this isn't about politics or religion, it's about humanity. The Florida Holocaust Museum calls upon everyone to condemn this blatant anti-Semitism in the strongest possible terms. This should matter to everyone.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. And as you can see, a lot of BS is happening from The View. We all know The View is a very far-left site trying to constantly paint lies and issues that are not true. Them calling out Kyle Rittenhouse, saying he was a criminal, even though he was not, and many of other dastardly things that they have done. This has now gone to a great, crazy point. Now, we have other things that are happening, which they seem to not be looking too great. Hence why some of them have retracted their statements, because they may potentially be in legal trouble. Turning Point USA issues cease and desist to ABC News over defamatory statements on The View. The Turning Point USA issued a scathing cease and desist letter to ABC News on Tuesday, calling for Disney-owned company to retract the defamatory statements made earlier this week on The View or face legal action. The false statements of fact intentionally made during The View's July 25th segment were unquestionably harmful to TPUSA's reputation and brought the organization and its student affiliates into disrepute with the public, potential donors, and current and future business partners, posing a significant financial loss to the organization, the letter said. Fox News Digital has obtained the letter, addressed to ABC News New York Bureau Chief Joshua Hios, and ABC Assistant Chief Counsel in Rosenberg, which accuses the Review of making false, derogatory, and defamatory statements about its recent Student Action Summit. ABC News did not immediately respond to a request for on Monday. The daytime Gab Fest kicked off its program discussing the TPUSA Student Action TPUSA Student Action Summit that occurred last weekend in Tampa, Florida. Now, here's the thing here. The View making false derogatory and defamatory statements about its recent Student Action Summit. Now, here's the thing. We know that they make a lot of false, derogatory, and defamatory statements. They have done this time and time again. And they need to be sued into oblivion at some point so they can stop doing this type of BS. Because at this point, it's becoming a huge problem. They keep on doing this, and they need to be shown exactly why not to do this. I bet a couple $1 million being thrown at them or more would show that maybe they should probably stop doing this. And yeah, this is a culture war, guys, and we need to fight back. And I'm honestly quite tired of the far left causing major problems for the rest of the normal people in society, where they just keep on throwing false accusations, and defamatory statements over and over again to no actual punishment, and it needs to happen. If they don't receive these actual punishments, then there is a actual issue. People will begin to recoil or recoil against some things if they actually face legal punishment. Same thing with the protesters that were at the judges' houses and not being put in jail for breaking federal law. This is the issue here. If we actually enact our laws and put them into actual trouble here, maybe they'll probably stop doing it. But either way, we need laws in place, and we need these people to stop. And the View is being a very high standard on this. Of course, their IQ and level is just not there because they're honestly stupid people. They only watch very crap level stuff, and they only live in their cult because we all know it is a cult. So, there you have it. The View co-host mocked the elaborate event for taking a page from WWE simply because of special effects, inaccurately portrayed the group as being officially tied to the GOP, and Joy Behar criticized the group because neo-Nazi protesters were outside the venue. The thing is that most people that I know that are on that side of the aisle, or that are conservative or whatever, don't really like neo-Nazis. I don't like neo-Nazis. I think neo-Nazis are terrible. And the fact that there are, if they were neo-Nazis, quote unquote, is that yeah, they shouldn't really be allowed. I don't really like neo-Nazis, considering the fact that they killed millions upon millions of Jews with the aid and abetting of Hitler, commanding such requests, and Stalin. So I would really think that neo-Nazis are not liked by a good majority of the country, and probably most likely the world. So you trying to conflate with the students and people that go there for thinking that they're neo-Nazis is insanity. Neo-Nazis were out there, the neo-Nazis were out there in front of the conference with the anti-Semitic slurs and, the Nazi swastika and a picture of a so-called Jewish person with exaggerated features, just like Goebbels did during the Third Reich. It's the same thing right out of that same playbook, Behar said. Since then, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis did nothing but fail to mention that a Republican governor attended the event the day before neo-Nazis appeared. He doesn't need to say anything because none of his supporters are neo-Nazis. None of them are. The students were actively, as you've seen in the video, decrying and trying to shoot away the neo-Nazi people. So I don't know about that one, but it seems to be quite stupid if you ask me. Later on the program, The View read on their air disclaimer to inform viewers that Turning Point USA condemned the neo-Nazis protesters who had nothing to do with the organization. But you let them in, and you knew what they were, Whoopi Goldberg and Harry said before the opponents were forced to read another disclaimer, and that the neo-Nazis were outside protesters. Well, if you understand if you actually read what I had here, is that the USA, pretty much, Turning Point USA pretty much said that they couldn't remove them because they were on public property and people had the right to demonstrate what they want because, freedom of speech. It's kind of funny because there's a so-called thing called freedom of speech that people are allowed to do, and you kind of don't want them to do it. So, yeah. So, yeah, they tried to do it, but, that freedom of speech got in the way and prevented them from doing so, which I would very much allow the freedom of speech to do so, because people should be allowed to say whatever the hell they want, regardless of what it is. So, there you have it. If that was on private property, they could remove them. The error on this script didn't satisfy TPUSA and House Counsel Veronica Peterson, who pinned the scathing case into Cease Desist. The View host intentionally and falsely associated TPUSA with neo-Nazi protesters outside the event, placing TPUSA in denigrating and false light and negatively impacting its public perception. Such action would not be tolerated, the letter said. Specifically, the View host insidiously and cavalierly stated that TPUSA let neo-Nazis enter to a SAS event and methodically embraced them in sick, and then that neo-Nazis were in the midst of people. Their assertion that TPUSA is complicit or affiliated in any way with the neo-Nazis protesters outside the event is outlandish, false, defamatory, and disgraceful, the letter continued. Even as Mr. Haynes reluctantly read the TPUSA statement that condemns the group of neo-Nazis and the group that had nothing to do with TPUSA, its event or its students' attendees, Ms. Goldberg continues the false tirade against TPUSA, asserting that somehow the organization and its attendees were complicit and are associated with the outside protests. Yeah, she's also the same person that was saying that the Nazis was not a racist issue. I mean, come on. If we're really going to start listening to these lunatics that are saying that type of stuff, yeah, Whoopi Goldberg should probably stop doing her day job, considering she is proving to be quite a bloody idiot. Peterson then added to the abundantly clear TPC aggressively and completely condemns the ideology of neo-Nazism, as most of the majority of people do, and has zero connection to the protesters outside the event. Since these individuals were located on public property, TPUSA security attempted to, but was not permitted to remove them. The letter also explained that TPUSA is a tax-exempt public charity under the Internal Revenue Code Section 501c3 that is not affiliated with the GOP. So again, even if the GOP was sent them, which they didn't, by the way, there has no association with it. In cases where the communication is such of a nature that the court can presume as a matter of law that the communication would tend to degrade or disgrace the party, defame special damages are presumed. The letter said, therefore, the TPUSA demands that the ABC immediately cease and desist from further unlawful defaming TPUSA, reject the defamatory statements identified above, and issue a public statement apologizing for and correcting the above defamatory and false statements. The letter gave ABC News a new deadline of July 27 for the retraction and apology. Should ABC decide not to comply with the demands above, TPUSA is prepared to promptly take all steps necessary to protect its rights, including pursuing all available legal remedies, seeking monetary and non-monetary damages, injunctive relief, attorney's fees, and costs, the letter said. This year's conference in Tampa marked TPUSA's 8th Summit Action Summit. Prior to the event, TPUSA promised an amazing celebration of self-expression, self-reliance, and self-acceptance. So there you have it. There's also some other things as well that we should probably also go through, because here's the thing. The Democrats want to really try to condemn things or try to force what the Republicans or what some people have done or said in this, and it's kind of odd that they are doing it. Not really exactly odd, but disgusting in the least that they will go to these lengths to actually talk about stuff in this matter. Now we have also an article about about Ron DeSantis on why they won't denounce neo-Nazis. So by the Rolling Stone, and here we have it here. Why won't Florida Ron DeSantis denounce his neo-Nazi supporters? Now, here's the thing. He won't do it because there's no point to, because of the mere fact that that none of his supporters are neo-Nazis, and they want to say that so therefore they can say, oh well, guess what? He denounced that all of his supporters are neo-Nazis. Yeah, well, guess what? Nobody's stupid enough to think that, and nobody believes that neo-Nazis are a huge part of this culture. Like, there were 6 of them. So even if there wasn't neo-Nazis, times that is a very small portion of people, right? Well, Democrats are being insane as always, but what can we say? Always trying to ruin and try to paint some horrible, evil narrative. And we need to start calling that out. Okay, guys, that's it for the video. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.